Welcome back, everybody. So today on War Thunder Weekly News, we had the second dev server open. I was actually in the midst of making a plane tree for the first dev server, and they threw this at us. And I was like expecting, like, oh no, I'm gonna have to redo the entire video and redo the jet video. Actually, I don't, because they only added 3 new vehicles. Why they reopened the dev server is because they got the AIM-7s working, and I went out and flew them. And well, at first, when I was streaming it, all that would happen is you'd lock onto a target, they would start tracking, and then you'd fire them, and they'd just fly forward and explode. And it was the worst thing ever. A massive disappointment, as we could not see these things in action. However, after watching the stream, I looked around, because I swear, I felt like they would not open the dev server to show us that they once again had the AIM-7s not functioning correctly. Like, I just felt like they did have them working. So after looking at some YouTube videos, I found this one where this dude had them working as intended, and he said that right before he was recording he had restarted it because they had a little patch. So I restarted mine, a little update happened, and they started working. For the most part. There were still many times where they would not track and just fly off and then explode, but I was able to shoot down a few planes with them, and it was pretty cool. I even then bothered to go take them out into some random battles, and I found them not nearly as useful as people would like to expect. Many times you can't really lock onto targets that are that far away because apparently trees create the most radar clutter you could ever expect. But also, once you got lock and tried to maintain lock, they'd fly forward, and it would be very obvious that the missiles coming towards that person, so long as they weren't in a dogfight. And if they were in a dogfight, they were probably making extreme turns, and the missile wouldn't be able to connect. As I'm not sure how they're supposed to be in real life, but in the dev server, they only were 15G missiles. What I can assess from this is it's going to be a major buff to Phantoms if they can get these missiles working properly and reliably. Because not only are you going to have the AIM-9Js, but you're also going to have 4 AIM-7s, so in a total of 8 missiles, while the Russians will still only have 4 max on any of their jets. Most of them only have 2. Now, there's a few improvements that need to happen. Of course, the obvious ones that need to be consistent in whatever they do. It seems almost random whether they're going to actually track the target or not. So once they get those issues out of the way, because I feel they're much more important, it would be really ideal if they had a system where you could choose whether you want to fire the 7s or the 9s. As it is currently in the dev server, you had to fire all your 7s where you could even get to the 9s, which put you in a very awkward situation if you had some of the 7s left over but were in a closer range combat environment and couldn't necessarily get a radar lock because perhaps you're close to the ground. Now, the other thing they need to do is they need to give the Russians a plane that can carry a large number of air-to-air missiles, more than 4, because now the Phantoms are going to be able to carry 8, which is twice as much, and twice as much in a large manner. If you had every single missile land, you'd have 8 kills. That's ridiculous. If you had half the missiles land, you'd have 4 kills, compared to the Russians, who have a max chance of getting 4 kills with missiles. And the number of missiles that Allied aircraft are going to be able to carry is only going to go up from here. The US did not hold back when it came to putting missiles on jets further on. My solution to this obvious up-and-coming issue is to add the MiG-23, because the MiG-23 looks like one hell of a jet. But it can also carry a good number of missiles, and they're going to be power creeping Allied aircraft anyways, so we might as well start off with the Russian ones. Let them have a bit of fun before the F-14 comes and ruins all communist hopes and dreams. Now, the other news was that there were 2 new jets, technically 1 new jet added in the dev server. Now, I already covered all the jets in the dev server, and I even covered this jet that I'm about to talk about, but I didn't do it in much detail because it was only a file at the time. Now we have the whole jet in the dev server, and I flew it around a bunch. It was the seat-kept Jaguar, and it felt like a pretty good ground attacker for both the French and British. Both those nations are getting their own individual plane. Flight performance, they seem the same. The main difference was the loadouts. Now, the number of bombs and rockets seemed the same. However, the French one had additional types of rockets. Unique French ones that did weird French things. One of these types of rockets was like a flechette rocket, where it broke apart into a bunch of pointy bits that would be able to penetrate 80 millimeters, which sounds pretty darn good knowing that most tanks have their top nowhere near 80 millimeters. Unfortunately, these rockets seem to be rather inaccurate, or at least on the dev server, the ballistic computer was not being very active with where these rockets would go. So being on the dev server, there is always the possibility that it was a bug. The little X where the rockets were supposed to go was kind of floating around a bunch. It's also possible the rockets are inaccurate, or maybe I'm just not understanding their art and you got to practice them a little bit, because I can see these rockets being really effective if you did actually hit the targets. Of course, if you don't want to rely on precision, you have a ballistic computer, so you can, if you want to, rain down as many FFARs as you feel like on a position that has tanks around it, or bombs, and probably get a kill. And in terms of air-to-air combat, they are both armed with 30mm cannons, Aidens for the British and Divas for the French, as well as 2 air-to-air missiles. For the British, they get AIM-9Gs, and the French get Magic 1 missiles. In comparison to each other, they both have their ups and downs, so it would be kind of hard to say what one is exactly better, but both of them are coming in at 10.0 battle rating. These aircraft are pretty cool ones for 2 reasons. Visually, they look cool. The Jaguar is just a cool looking jet, and I am interested in seeing many more of them come to the game, but also, in a gameplay sense, these will be very good ground support aircraft, having a large number of bombs or rockets that you can throw at enemy tanks, while still being quite competitive against other planes. Having not only a ballistic computer, but air-to-air missiles, they're going to be like 10.0 Phantoms. And while the British do have 2 Phantoms of their own, the French, to my understanding, do not exactly have a whole lot of high-leveled, capable ground-striking aircraft that can do on the level of a Phantom can. Now they will. And apparently, from a few things I heard, we now know all the vehicles that are come in 1.101, which makes it a pretty small patch, but hopefully there's a good number of bug fixes. But anyways, before I end this video, first I'd like my VIP champions who are conquering the entire globe, the YouTube members and patrons. Thank you very much, guys. Now if you have any comments, concerns, or questions, hit me up down below or on my Discord. If you've liked the video, do hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, don't hit the like button. If you want to see more, I make War Thunder Weekly News videos every Friday, which is tomorrow, I guess, and streams every Saturday, as well as random videos throughout the week, so be sure to hit the bell icon to be notified anytime I upload anything. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. And in terms of bonus news, Templar Master once again needs pilots for an operation. If you are in possession of a B-17E, a B-17E late, the Halifax B Mark IIIA, or a P-51D and are interested in fighting the German threat, report to mission registration to sign up on my Discord.